8. Some people believe that if a police officer carries guns, it can encourage a higher level of violence. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Many hold a belief that the policy allowing police to carry guns in execution of justice is accompanied by the upsurge of violent crimes in real life. However, in my opinion, this pessimism is ungrounded. Firstly, it is noteworthy that police officers are responsible for deterring the latent criminals and taking care of all the citizens' safety, which could be largely guaranteed by gun-carrying action. Many behavioral studies have shown that although it is invisible, some people who intend to commit a crime are inclined to quit taking action if they are aware of the serious consequence of meeting gun-carrying police. Therefore, it will be a mistake to overlook the fact that guns are one of effective tools that the police can use to maintain social order and social safety, as it is the best deterrent to potential lawbreakers and scare off the would-be criminals. Secondly, the counter-argument raised by objectors to this is that police officers taking guns on duty would inevitably raise the level of violent crimes, because this policy may add fuel to the fire of gun culture. On the ground of democracy and individual freedom, people ask for legalization of private gun ownership for defense or recreational purposes. This justification is reasonable to some degree, yet it is incomplete. What they fail to take into account is the fact that publicly traded gun and ammunition could be reduced by various regulations, typically ending legal immunity for gun manufacturers. Investing in smart gun technology, making open gun carriage in public places illegal. In conclusion, it is my opinion that there are more benefits than problems regarding gun-carrying police for reasons mentioned above. 9. Music has been and will continue to be the universal language of mankind. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Throughout history, music plays a significant role in different cultures. Some people believe that music deserves to be called as a universal language no matter in the past or future. From my perspective, I totally agree with this point of view and have several pieces of solid evidence to support it. Firstly, it is noteworthy that languages and music have a lot in common. Many studies have shown that although it is invisible, music has an irreplaceable function of expressing thoughts and feelings, which is resembling to the characteristics of language. Therefore, it will be a mistake to overlook that fact that music can express emotions that cannot be depicted solely by words. For example, listeners can interpret messages conveyed in unfamiliar songs. At least the two basic emotions of happiness and sadness. For example, higher pitch, fluctuations in rhythm, and taste or tempo convey happiness, while the slow rhythm conveys sadness. These audio effects can be perceived by audiences throughout the world, regardless of their cultural backgrounds. Secondly, the counter-argument raised by objectors to this is that music is not universal language, because in different countries, people give preference to different genres of music. This argument is reasonable to some degree, however, it is incomplete. What they fail to take into account is the fact that in the past, when countries were isolated from each other due to closed borders, people loved kinds of music that were closed to their cultures, local norms. But in contemporary world, because of cultural globalization, people worldwide are inclined to prefer same kinds of music. For example, under the facade of exporting media products like films and songs, Western countries have attempted to culturally colonize minority cultures. As a result of westernization and cultural imperialism, youngers from different countries tend to show keenness to same kinds of music derived from dominant cultures. In conclusion, it is evident to say that music is a global language that connects people for reasons mentioned above. 10. In some countries around the world, men and women are having children at a later age than in the past. What are the reasons for this development? What are the effects on society and family life? In many parts of the world, couples are inclined to suspend parenthood and give birth to children later in life than people of previous generations did in earlier time. In this essay, reasons behind this phenomenon will be discussed, followed by its effects on society and family. Firstly, the stiff competition is widely perceived as the chief reason. Many sociological studies have shown that although it is invisible, high public literacy and high rates of university graduation have made the competition ever increasing. Therefore, it is a mistake to overlook the fact that men and women are increasingly career-oriented, tending to spend most of their adulthood at working places for job security and career development. As a result, their promising career paths are at the expense of personal life, including having children. Secondly, another factor that has intensified the trend is the advent of novel technologies. According to researchers, in the past, women chose to give birth early as a solution to the worry of the deterioration of fertility and potential health problems to the fetus. Nowadays, couple can delay parenthood by using medical services with modern technologies, typically freezing embryos. In vitro fertilization to achieve dual purposes that are giving devotion of time to careers and minimizing health problems simultaneously. In evaluating its impacts, it is important to take potential consequences on family and society into account. From economic perspective, it would cause far-reaching influences on the sustainability of macroeconomic performances due to low birth rate. For instance, in industrialized countries, the low fertility rates have been accompanied by the lack of productive young laborers, causing profound influences on economic growth. Equally seriously, from the view of family unity, parents and children are prone to have conflicts and disagreements. In fact, it is common that in double-income families where both parents are working as breadwinners, ideological conflicts between parents of children are popular due to generation gap. Consequently, they hardly build good rapports and meet difficulties to improve bonding relations. In conclusion, fierce competition and technological development are the main reasons. Its effects on society and family are generally negative as mentioned above. 11. Many animals are endangered. Some people argue that we should only protect animals that are useful to humans. To what extent do you agree or disagree? In many parts of the world, animal species are on the verge of extinction. Many hold a belief that individuals and governments should only preserve animals that are economically beneficial to humans. However, in my opinion, all animals that are being threatened should be protected. Firstly, it is noteworthy that the interdependence of species is the main characteristic of eco-balance. Many zoological studies have shown that although it is invisible, the survivals of living species are closely intertwined in one way or another. Therefore, it is a mistake to overlook that fact that the underpopulation or the extinction of one species could result in demise of other species. For example, poisonous snakes are widely considered as dangerous animals because snake venom is fatal to humans. However, the underpopulation of snakes in farming regions has resulted in the overpopulation of rats, having devastating effects on agricultural yields and chronic effects on national food security. This example is the illustration of the fact that all threatened animals should be preserved. Secondly, the counter-argument raised by objectors to this is that we should only protect animals that are useful to humans. Because individuals and governments that are on tight budget have to spend money in various social aspects, typically education and medication. Accordingly, due to limited financial sources, people should protect endangered animals selectively. This justification is reasonable to some degree, however, it is incomplete. What they fail to take into account is that fact that despite the high expenses of giving long-term commitment to animal preservation, ceasing the progressive extinction of threatened animals should be regarded as the top priority to all governments. For instance, even in poor countries which are confronting with budget deficiency, fiscal policies have been introduced to save creatures from extinction due to environmental concerns. From this example, one can observe that monetary burdens should not be cited as a reason to save useful animals only. In conclusion, all living creatures deserve to be protected for reasons mentioned above. 12. Water scarcity is a serious problem in many countries. What are the causes of this? And what solutions can be done by individuals and the government? In many parts of the world, water crisis has become alarmingly serious. In this essay, reasons behind this problem will be discussed, followed by appropriate solutions to it. Firstly, climate change is widely perceived as the chief culprit. Scientific studies have shown that although it is invisible, global warming has silently resulted in knock-on effects on environment on large scale. For example, desertification, persistent drought and low precipitation have been intensified due to climate shift in many parts of the world. Secondly, another factor that has added fuel to the fire is the ever-growing population. According to demographic researches, overpopulation and water depletion are closely intertwined. Precisely, the seriousness of water shortage is directly proportional to the growth of population. For example, because of high demand for water consumption for domestic usage and agricultural irrigation, underground water systems have been excessively exploited. Consequently, aquifers are running out. In tackling this progressive environmental problem, various solutions should be taken simultaneously. Governments are recommended to take proactive actions. In particular, authorities should strictly prohibit the emission of gases that are causing greenhouse gas effect. Specifically, the use of alternative energy to fossil fuel has been promoted in many developed countries in the effort to reduce the combustion of coal, natural gases, oil. Although it takes long-term commitment of time and sources, it is a strategic approach to all environmental problems. Besides, another equally effective tactic that should be taken into account is to take advantages of technology. For example, in Israel, where approximately two-thirds of territories are barren deserts, drain irrigation has been replaced by drop irrigation technology to make water consumption more efficient. At the same time, rainwater harvesting systems, better water distribution infrastructure, improved sewage treatment system, recycling water have been conducted to save limited water resources. In conclusion, climate change and rapid population growth are the main reasons. Solutions to this problem require government's intervention as mentioned above. 13. Some people believe that educational qualifications always bring success, while others disagree. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. Some hold a belief that higher education is most important predictor of one's success, however. The counter-argument raised by objectors is that tertiary education itself cannot guarantee one's success, and there are many other elements combined to mold a successful role model. In this essay, justifications for both schools of thoughts will be discussed, followed by my opinion. On the one hand, it is noteworthy that university education is one of prerequisites to have promising career path in today's society. Sociological studies have shown that the labor-intensive economy has gradually developed to knowledge-based economy. Graduates with outstanding academic qualifications are sought after by employers and headhunters, especially in fields with high level of specialization. Therefore, it will be a mistake to overlook the fact that the solid background of tertiary education plays an instrument in one's career prospect. For example, in digital era, information technology has become one of the most conspicuous trends in the world. A university is home to those teaching professionals who have a firm grasp of a technology can impart insights to students by various techniques. This example is the illustration of the fact that enrolling in university curriculums is a stepping stone to secured jobs and bright career path in today's knowledge-oriented society. On the other hand, opponents argue that there are many other complementary factors closely intertwined to create successful careers. This justification is reasonable to some degree, because the most successful people are normally those who are most likely to adapt to changes in their world with the ability to work in a hard-working, stressful, and ever-changing environment. According to researches, not all the knowledge, experience and skills can be passed on to students by teaching. Experiences and rules of thumb are non-transferable at a traditional classroom. The only way to gain a mastery of them is the full participation in a job. Running toward success is more of a marathon than of a sprint. Only those persistent, self-motivated and self-directed can eventually attain their objectives. Taking all of the above-mentioned facts into account, it is my opinion that there are various factors that play contributing roles in one's success, and a college degree is not the precondition to personal success. 14. Parents should encourage children to spend less time studying and more time doing physical activities. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Faced with the potential consequences from the heavy school workload, some parents suggest reducing their children's pressure by getting their children to participate in more physical activities. From my perspective, however, I partially agree with this view. On the one hand, it is noteworthy that encouraging children to exercise leads to many physical benefits. Scientific studies have shown that although it is invisible, devoting to education for academic achievements during juvenile stage is at the expense of normal physical growth due to the lack of time for outdoor activities. Therefore, it will be a mistake to overlook the fact that children who give high commitment of time to education are inclined to adopt sedentary lifestyle, which in turn may cause health problems. Typically obesity and nearsightedness. This example is the illustration of the fact that if children spend more time exercising and participating in physical activities moderately, they can protect themselves from common health problems resulted from inactivity. On the other hand, students need to spend time on study for the highly competitive pressure of education. According to sociological researches, the labor-intensive economy has gradually developed to knowledge-based economy. Graduates from prestigious schools with outstanding academic qualifications are sought after by employers and headhunters, especially in fields with high level of specialization. In fact, the evaluation for university admission is largely based on academic performance as the prerequisite, and in most cases admission committees give little weight to students' performances in sports. Therefore, spending more time on studies rather than sports is more recommended for most children. In conclusion, there are many merits of doing physical activities, but for children, these benefits should not impact on their regular academic schooling. 15. People used to live in the same city throughout their lives, but now they change where they live several times. What is the cause? Do you think it is a positive or negative trend? In contrast to the old days when people resided in same cities during their lives, in contemporary society there is a growing trend that people relocate their living places for various times. In this essay, reasons behind this phenomenon will be discussed, followed by its potential effects. Firstly, economic disparity between major cities and smaller cities is widely perceived as the main reason. Many demographic studies have shown that although it is invisible, unbalanced economic growth has encouraged rural residents to move to metropolises and urban areas in search of better jobs with more promising career paths. For example, many workers have chosen to leave their motherlands and migrate to cities with prosperous economies and plentiful job sources for more employment opportunities and higher incomes. Secondly, another factor that has intensified this trend is the ever-growing appetite for better living conditions. According to behavioral researches, modern citizens today have comprehensive requirements for living environments. They are no longer limited to basic demands such as social safety, high public literacy, easy access to public facilities. People tend to move to new residential places where they can have access to larger open space, greenery canopy, and population density is low. On the one hand, changing residential places implies career development, while numerous candidates are in the race for few job vacancies in homelands. Job seekers have more job sources in big cities as the economic growth is always in direct proportion to the wide availability of jobs. Besides, the improvement of living conditions is another benefit. On the other hand, the inflow of new inhabitants would have erosive effects on local cultural identities. Because cultural differences and ethnic conflicts could damage the community spirit and make relations between neighbors fragile. In conclusion, economic inequality and craving for better living conditions are the main reasons. Although it has positive benefits to individuals, negative effects on cultures deserve people's attention as mentioned above.